If I told you that 73% of trading gurus with payout screenshots have no actual skill, just statistical luck, would you believe me? All right, and I'm going to prove it to you guys with math. This video is an opinion, it's probability theory, Monte Carlo simulations, Bayesian statistics applied to the trading influencer industry. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why someone can have 50K in payouts, maybe 60K in payouts, and still have zero edge, and why that person is probably selling you a course or just trying to market themselves so they can sell you a course without having real skill. And listen, bro, I don't want to sound like a hater. I'm just going to preface this, guys, listen, bro, I'm just doing this because I want to make sure you guys are objectively getting the right information and are being led the right way. Okay, this is by no means me hating on anybody. I have zero hate in my heart, but I'm going to speak the truth. I'm going to show you what objectively is happening because I want you guys to succeed. And again, sorry, it's kind of early here. I'm a bit fucking, frazzled. It took me about 11 hours to make this video, guys. So thank you for tuning in. Let's get started. The reality is, guys, is that everybody is manipulating you in the trading industry in some form. Now, if you're not on TikTok, I post a lot of content on TikTok. I made my kind of brand on TikTok. There are a couple people who are randomly some new micro influencers in the trading niche who have been popping up. And the reason I made this video is because they've been blowing up and getting crazy engagement. And again, I'm not trying to be a hater. I don't want to sound like a hater, but it's not helping the masses. It's not going to help you guys, and you need to use your brain and see through this if you actually want to know what's going on. This guy here, his name is like Hugh Trades or something like that. He ended up posting that he got a $65,000 payout. And it's just, I've been saying this for years. It's just because this guy has a payout and, a big payout, randomly out of the blue does not actually mean he knows what he's talking about. But all these people are glazing this guy. They're glazing this guy, Alex O, as well as this dude, this Braden Trades guy. I have no idea who these guys really are, if I'm being honest. But they're glazing and giving engagement, thinking that these people know what they're talking about when they really don't. So basically, this guy was flexing that he got the 65K payout. And again, I've been in this industry for a while now. I know how this industry works. And the whole point I'm trying to make here is that just because you get this payout, right, it doesn't actually mean you know what you're talking about and you actually have skill in day trading, right? This is going to kind of go in depth, but this is talking about statistics, right? Real math, because guys, trading is a professional skill set with real math behind this, right? You are literally competing with banks, institutions, hedge funds, really, really smart guys who are hiring people with degrees, PhDs, etc. So what makes you think that you can just tackle this with no ounce of intellect and no ounce of, being, a high level person if you want to be profitable as a retail trader, maybe a high level discretionary trader, whatever. Basically, if you have 10 people, right, in this case, 10 people, right, you could have a completely unprofitable trading system, right? But it can still make money in the short term. Okay, this is called high variance trading. But before we get to this point, I want to kind of show you guys that what this guy was posting. He made a video, and again, I guess it's good that he was being transparent with you guys. Maybe he isn't. I don't know. For him to say this, it was kind of crazy in public. But this guy, Hugh Trades, he blew 220 blown evals and 91 blown fundeds. Okay. That is not normal, guys. Okay, you should not be burning through accounts like that. That is a sign that this guy is trading with high variance and is essentially gambling. Okay, now you're probably wondering, what is high variance? What is this idea of high variance? So people don't actually need to know what they are doing to make money in prop firms, and that is the unfortunate, sad reality. Okay, but we are living in an influencer era of where people are getting one payout and then flexing that payout, trying to market themselves in order to sell courses, sell products when they have no right to do so because they don't have any ounce of value, right? Why would you trust someone who has no idea what the fuck they're talking about? They're promoting you to drop out of school, not pursue college, not having intellectual perspective on any of this, right? And it just really irks me because I do this shit to help you guys and give you the right information the right way. And this is not gonna all this shit, guys, all this social media brain rot, pardon my language, is genuinely not gonna help you become a better trader. You have to be following the right people and the right information. But people don't actually need to know what they are doing to make money trading in prop firms, because this is the gamification of trading, right? With prop firms, what's essentially going on is they've structured these rules in a way where it's kind of like a casino. Okay, You have things like drawdown limits, you have contract size limits, things of that nature, and all of this contributes to this whole experience of when you trade on prop firms to be gamified. And essentially, in any type of gamification, there are statistical phenomenon that can describe these gamifications that also occur in the sample sizes in the whole population set that you guys need to be aware of. So what are prop firms, right? For you guys who don't know what prop firms are, maybe you just got into day trading as a beginner or whatever, but they're essentially third-party companies that claim, hey, we will give you simulated trading capital, and if you can make money on this simulated trading capital, we'll then upgrade you to another account that is also a simulated account, and whatever money you make on that simulated account, we will give you as real money to your bank account. Okay, so basically these firms, the whole goal is essentially to, and they claim the whole goal is to find good traders that they can deploy capital behind, so they can effectively have their own type of hedge fund or own like internalized firm of where they're making money, and they can deploy their own capital and make money and make wealth that way, because the whole point of trading is to make money. Everybody wants to make money, okay? Sitting at home clicking buttons, okay? But in prop firms, essentially, right, the profit from these failed challenges, right, it's a challenge structure. So basically, you take a challenge, okay? These challenges, essentially, if you meet the requirements, the profit target requirements, then you will be upgraded to the next account level, and then what I said previously is gonna apply. But how do these, like, you probably question yourselves, like, damn, bro, like this shit kind of seems too good to be true. Like this shit might be a Ponzi scheme, right? And low key, you can think of it as that in a sense, okay? Because these prop firms, the way they make their money, the way they profit off, and actually have a sustainable business for themselves, is they're profiting off the failed challenges, because the statistic is that 90% plus of day traders fail in this business model. Okay, it's actually, I'm being conservative, it's way more, but the reason is because it's basically like a casino. Okay, you're essentially going to the casino and you are basically gambling, and that is what 99% of traders, in my opinion, are treating this as. However, it doesn't have to be this way. You can make money, right? We know for a fact that in a casino, if you guys have ever been to a casino, right, what is the number one game that you can actually win in blackjack, or in the casino? It's blackjack. Okay. Casinos, if you go to Vegas, what they'll do is that if you're a good card counter and you play blackjack, they are, their whole goal is to find people who are doing that and then kick them out, because they know that those people will make money in the medium and long term in some methodology with a very, very small positive edge. Okay. So card counting is not allowed in Vegas, and essentially, when you're trying to be a profitable day trader with prop firms, you are essentially trying to play blackjack and poker, and essentially basically have an edge in that manner. But you need that edge in the first place, right? Or you're just treating this as a casino. Okay. Now, what is high variance trading? Okay, and this is what you're seeing on social media, on TikTok, on literally everywhere on social media, bro. And it's fucked, bro, because I wish it was different. And like, the reality is, man, is like, people and humans are just so brain rotted, and people only find certain stuff engaging. But I'm trying to make a change with that with my content. I'm gonna try my best, right? But high variance trading is essentially, you are making very, very big bets, and in randomness, in a random market, which we know the stock market, or the futures market is that naturally, even if you have no idea what you're doing, by placing big bets, right, with this gamification model of prop firms, you can slip through this whole evaluation criteria, this whole model, and end up actually making real money by having no clue on what you're doing, because you're just betting big, okay, and you're leaving it to chance, okay? And this is high variance trading. So this is what happens, basically. This is the whole cycle and the whole process, okay? So gambling essentially will produce occasional big wins by pure luck, okay? And when that happens, you're going to get gurus and micro-influencers who then start to come up, because they realize that, hey, I can leverage social media and post my profits and post my wins, and then end up building a brand off that, to then end up, selling a course or making more money. But this is essentially what's happening, right? People are gambling, they're betting crazy numbers, they're making, on their accounts, on their toss-up accounts, whatever, their prop firm accounts, and then they're having occasional big wins by pure luck. And then they're coming up, they're emerging, and then the lucky winners, the people who are winning, right, from here, are then going to post screenshots, payouts, and then build brands and then sell courses. That's what their whole goal is, right? Which leads to more victims, right? Like, why is this bad for you guys? Because essentially somebody who can have literally no clue on what they're doing, have no idea of statistical understanding, Monte Carlo simulations, Bayesian statistics, right? Understanding of back testing, anything, algorithmic trading, high level discretionary trading, back testing, and then they can just get lucky by posting a payout that they got from luck. And then now you're thinking, oh my God, this guy is a good trader. He knows what he's talking about, when in reality, he has no fucking clue because he just got it through luck. And then he's going to sell you some course or a product thinking that, and you're going to think, oh, it's going to help me, but in reality, it's not, because these guys have no idea what they're talking about. So this leads to more victims, okay? And then more victims is going to lead to new traders who buy courses and then buy challenges thinking that they're going to learn quality information or some methodology of actually becoming a real profitable day trader. And then the reality is this cycle just repeats, right? And that is exactly what we end up having here. This is high variance trading. So you're probably like, damn, bro, like this guy AA Bands, bro, he's doing the same shit. He's you can listen, you can think whatever you want. I've been in this industry since 2023, but for those of you guys who don't know me, okay, who am I, right? Who am I to make these bold claims and come out here and make content? So my name is Arbaz. Okay, I've been trading since 2023. You guys can search me up on YouTube, on social media. I made my debut actually, in 2023, March of 2023, where I finally gained an ounce of profitability by creating a trading system with positive EV and a methodology that actually can make me money in the medium and long term, and that can survive randomness and survive variance. Okay, and through that I've been able to get multiple high 5-figure payouts. These were just some payouts from 2023, one of my biggest some of my biggest withdrawals. And then through Top Step and through futures, I've been getting multiple consistent payouts through through Top Step. I've been 6 figures this year, actually 2025, because it's 2026 now, through Top Step. And my whole goal is to teach you guys the right methodology of day trading while having and showing you guys real proof and real credibility in this space. Okay, so this is not good, guys. Okay, this whole cycle is just not good. Okay, because it doesn't help you guys who are beginners, who are trying to learn this skill set the right way. Okay, but specifically, what is, going a little bit deeper, I covered a high variance trading, but like, what is variance? You guys, maybe you guys don't have a math background, a college background, a high school background, or whatever, but that's why I'm here to explain what variance is. Okay, so variance is essentially, and it took me, guys, and please go like this video. It really means a lot to me. I've been working for the past 10-11 hours to make this flowchart for you guys and make these diagrams. It was not easy, I really appreciate that, but I digress. Okay, so it's essentially how spread out your trading outcomes are from the mean, from the average. Okay, so when you're seeing, your returns being modeled, your intraday returns, let's say as a day trader or whatever, just a trader in general, low variance is going to show you an indication of skilled, consistent trading, right? You're going to have a bell curve that looks like this. Okay, so for example, you're going to see this is what it looks like. You're going to have, some periods of where you make a small amount of money, 0.5%, then you lose 0.3%, and then you have 0.4%, 0.2, etc., etc., etc. It is small, consistent trading. Okay, and naturally, it's going to look something like this because your returns are small, they're standardized, and you're not trading again with high variance. Okay, this is consistent, it's boring, it's predictable, but it will compound over your trading system and all your trades. Okay, now what is high variance? Okay, this is essentially gambling disguised as trading. This is trading in a methodology or in a means of where you are risking very, very, very heavy, and you are essentially letting randomness and luck determine if you make money or you don't make money. All right, so for example, this is like maybe one day you might have a 15% gain, but then the next day you lose 12%, then you gain 20%, 18%. This is a very erratic, volatile a way of trading, right? It's exciting, it's volatile, but it's unpredictable. You can literally hit big quick, not quick, but you can hit big or blow up quick, right? Blow up fast. Okay, now the reality is, guys, is with enough high variance attempts, okay, you are going to have, just statistically, you're going to have extreme positive outcomes that are guaranteed to happen by math, not skill. This is a statistical phenomenon that is guaranteed to happen. Okay, now this is the bell curve of the trading outcomes, because this is what's going on, right? All these trading gurus, all these new micro influencers that you see on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, where do they actually come from? Okay, they're coming from this part of the curve, because what's happening is that in general, if we were to able to model all these people, all these traders in general, okay, you're going to have people who are, big losers who blow up accounts, right? And then you're going to have most of the traders who are in the middle, but still, and this is actually a bit contrived, this example. I just did it for, visual purposes. And then the big winners, okay? What happens is that the gurus that you were seeing, regardless of skill, just regardless of if you know how to day trade or not, if you were just to model every single day trader, okay, these tails are going to exist mathematically, okay? The big winners and the trading gurus are going to exist regardless of skill. Even with 100% of just random trading guys, someone is going to land there. And that's how distributions work. This is just how stats work. And people like this, who you're seeing, right? These guys are going to come into the space. And now it's just not these guys. If you've ever been on TikTok, as of recently, like, guys, I'm being so dead ass with you guys. Like, there is a fucking influx. There is a horde of new people all trying to do this, okay? And it's very, very prevalent, near the end of 2025 going into 2026, because it's just people are, exactly like the cycle. This is what they're doing. They don't know how to trade, but they want to give that illusion because they can manipulate you guys and then end up making money off you guys, which is just wrong in my opinion, okay? Now, one more thing, right? The middle part, right? Most traders, they're going to lose money to, like, obviously slippage, commission fees if they're trading a personal account, right? But with prop firms and in general, it's way more actually, okay? This is a little bit more skewed. It's more skewed to the left, because the reality is that you can do things like revenge trading, going on tilt, having negative EV actions, which, contribute to more losing, right? But what I'm trying to say is that naturally, regardless of skill, these people are just going to exist through statistical chance and math, okay? So this is where we get into survivorship bias. Now, this is going to be one of my favorite examples that I want to bring, because it really, hits home, what is going on, okay? So survivorship bias is the tendency for humans and for us as people to only look at the successful people in a distribution, okay? Regardless of the overall stats, the average, we're only looking at the successful people and the people who are on one side. Now, you guys have maybe learned this in school, maybe you haven't. This is a really cool example. So in World War II, they would have these bombers, these planes, right? And, obviously in a war in World War II, right? We want our bombers or planes to survive. Okay, so what they were trying to figure out was, how do we, increase the survivability rate of our planes, and how do we put more armor on our planes so, we can survive more, or we could put more bombs or whatever, and our pilots can survive. So what they did was every plane that came back into the hangar, right? There was a genius statistician. I think his name was Abraham something. I don't remember specifically. I just remember the example, right? But when the planes would come back, they would record all of the gunshots, right, and all of the holes in the plane, all of the damage on the plane, and then they would record it, okay? And they would notice something like this. All right, they would see, okay, we have a lot of shots going on the left side of the plane here, as well as in the middle right here, and on the tail right here. Okay, so naturally, they would think that, oh, okay, these planes survived with these gunshots and these bullet holes here, so we would just naturally want to put armor on these parts of the plane so we don't so we can protect the plane, right? But what they didn't see was that these are the planes that survived. Okay, so in reality, these areas of where there's no bullet holes means what? Means that if someone, if like an anti-artillery tank, or an AA gunner or whatever, were to shoot these areas, right, or other planes were to shoot these areas, that means the plane never came back. So the plane didn't survive at all if it got shot here, and that's showing in the data. So in reality, you don't want to armor these areas of where all these bullet holes, were and gunshot holes were made. You want to armor these areas, because those were the areas that if they were hit, the plane wouldn't survive. And that's exactly what survivorship bias is. Okay, you're only looking at people who are at one side of the extreme, and you're not considering the real statistical facts of what's going on. Okay, so let's take an example for Top Step. I want to make a really, really cool, I made this really cool example for you guys, and obviously it's contrived, right, just for video purposes, because, I still want to make sure that you guys are, not like, maybe it might be like a 45-minute video, 50-minute video, who knows, but, I just want to, make it simple for you guys to understand as well, okay? But let's say, you're taking a Top Step 50K challenge on Top Step, right? A 50K challenge, right? Let's assume that we have a trending market. We have a market that's just going up intraday, right? It looks something like this, okay? If we take 20 people, we have a sample size of just 20 random traders, 20 little guys right here, okay? 10 are going to full port. They're going to risk their whole drawdown, right? They're going to risk, let's say, it's what, 1.5K on the trade. They're going to buy. 10 people are going to buy. 10 people are going to sell. Okay? So in a trending day that was destined to trend and destined to go up like this, all right, what's going to happen? If half of the people buy, half of the people sell. Okay, well, clearly, if everybody tries to sell it, let's say at this point right here, let's say all the people buy, all the 20 people buy here, all the 20 people sell here. Okay, well, clearly, the people who sold right here, stop loss, let's say maybe here, something like that, they're going to instantaneously lose. And then obviously the people who are in buys are holding this, and then those are the people that won. So these 10 people right here, they blew their challenge and lost their account. Also, my bad for my typo. They blew their challenge and lost their account. Okay, these people though, these other 10 people won. All right, they passed their challenge and won. Why is it 50-50? Well, because we're trying to simulate randomness. This means that you can literally have no skill, no idea what you're doing, just randomly taking a trade, and you can just pass your challenge, which is what happens like 99% of the time. Like it's crazy, guys. But just naturally, you can see that, okay, the market's just destined to go up. 10 people long, 10 people short. Naturally, in this trend, they're destined. There's going to be one half of the even if you're trading randomly, that's going to win regardless. Okay, so let's say those people won. We have 10 people that won, 10 people that blew their challenge. Now we have 10 traders, okay? So 5 of these traders full ports buys and 5 full port sells. You know, right after they hit TP, they just activate their XFA accounts, whatever, and they buy again, okay? So this is still trending, right? So let's say they hit TP around like right here, okay? Same thing. Those 10 people, 5 buy, 5 sell. At this exact point, they full port buys and sells, okay? What's going to happen now is 5 of those people are going to lose straight up, and then those other 5 people are going to naturally are going to win, and then look, they got big payouts. They made maybe 50K in a day, 25K in a day, whatever, 60K in a day. Okay, so out of the 20 people, right, out of the 20 people basically that ended up, you know, going through this whole process just through pure randomness, right, 5 people in this gamification were able to just get payouts of by just literally just randomly buying, right? Randomly buying. Now, this is obviously more contrived, but I'm just trying to illustrate a point to you here, okay? The 5 people who are naturally on the side of the winning group, the group who's winning, are going to get big payouts, right? Like the people who are on one side of the group win, they're just going to get big payouts, right? Due to randomness. And that's exactly what's going on. And you're not seeing it, okay? Just because you get a payout does not mean you actually know what you're talking about and you know, and have skill, right? You think these little kids who are 20 years old, 18 years old, 17 years old, whatever, think they have any ounce of idea and semblance about, you know, life and, you know, doing shit the right way, having wisdom and knowing what they're talking about? No, right? And I hate to, like, I know I sound like such a hater right now, but again, I'm doing this because I'm trying to inform you guys, okay? But then what happens, right? What happens after these 5 people who are naturally on the winning side of one group just get, you know, end up getting big payouts through this whole process? They're going to flex and post on social media, okay? You guys have to understand what social media is designed to do. Social media is designed to push, the algorithms are designed to push videos that are going to get views, right? So no one wants to see people who are blowing accounts, losing money, etc. They're only going to push the videos, and they only want to see people who are, you know, getting very big payouts and then flexing that, okay? And then what happens? These guys know that they can leverage that, and they're going to say, oh my God, learn my strategy, right? 20-year-old day trader makes 65K in one day. I have an 85% win rate. And now you think, oh my God, so many successful young day traders, they're probably experts. They probably know what they're talking about. And that is just far from the case, guys, okay? I made another video, another graphic showing you guys this survivorship bias of why you only see successful traders everywhere, because number one, the social media effect, but number two, just naturally with this, you know, this statistical phenomenon, right? If you have like 10,000 new traders, okay, on year 1, 90% are going to blow up, right? Only 1,000 survive, right? Year 2, same thing, 90% blow up. So then of that 1,000, only 100 survive, okay? And then year 3, 90% of those people end up blowing up, and then only 10 survive. And then what ends up happening is you know, those 10 people are going to be looking like they're so successful and they're so good, but then you're not seeing the 9,999 other people who end up blowing all of their accounts and losing money. Okay, and this whole thing, what this is happening, this is obviously through a time-based example, but this is happening in the gamification with the prop firms. Okay, with the prop firms. All right, it's like a an internalized kind of sandbox environment. Okay. So it's crazy, right? You're only seeing the survivors, right? The thousands of people who failed and are invisible, right? Who quit, who just deleted all their accounts and then disappeared. And then this creates the illusion that everyone is successful because you're following these new micro influencers who are posting these gains that they got through randomness and luck. And then now, the social media algorithms are then going to boost that and push that. Okay. And yeah, another example, right, with the coin flip, right? If 10,000 people flip a coin 100 times, or not 100 times, 10 times, the probability, right, of getting 10 heads in a row is going to be what? 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2, etc. So 1/2 to the 10th power. Okay. And the probability of that is what? 0.98%. So then expectedly, you're going to have essentially 10 people out of those 10,000 people who are winners, right? But then those people are going to look like geniuses and experts and like they're so successful, but just because they got lucky. Okay. So like I said, this is going to look on social media that, I have 100% win rate, learn my strategy, join my Discord, my whatever. Okay. And then you start to think, oh my God, wow, there's so many successful day traders. In reality, you're seeing a very heavily filtered sample. Now it's literally, like I said, a 0.1% survival rate, which is just crazy. Okay. So this is just survivorship bias. This is just one more angle, right? I hope this is making sense so far. And guys, if you have any questions, please comment them down below. I'd really appreciate it. I love interacting with you guys and giving you guys value, but let's continue going on. Okay. Now we're going to move on to Monte Carlo simulations. So for those who don't know what Monte Carlo simulations are, right? They're essentially it's basically a simulation of where you are running thousands of trades, and you're essentially applying not trades, but you're essentially applying randomness into simulations. Okay. Now, in the case of what I'm about to say, right, you're basically running thousands of simulated traders with random strategies, right? This is the whole point of this is to simulate just randomness in a data set, right? And that's essentially what's going on, right? So we're basically running thousands of simulated traders with random strategies. So what this means is there's no skill in this, guys. This is no system, no trading strategy, nothing. This is just no skill, no edge, pure coin flips, like literally like complete randomness. This is the whole point of Monte Carlo simulations, okay? And what ends up happening is this is what it looks like, okay? So what happens when 10,000 traders with zero skill just trade randomly, right? We have 10,000 traders, 100 trades each. Again, we're simulating randomness, so 50-50. They risk 3% per trade with zero skill and edge, okay? What you're looking at is, what this proves is that, like, with zero skill and completely zero edge, okay, pure randomness, just through pure randomness, will still produce profitable, quote unquote profitable traders that end up making money and looking like geniuses, who are then going to post screenshots, and then they're going to sell courses and going to sell discords and bad info products that just aren't good. Okay, so this is what the distribution looks like, right? You're gonna have these amount of people who have big losses, and this is gonna be break-even people, and then quote unquote profitable and trading gods. Obviously, this is contrived; it's a little bit different than this, but this is just to kind of illustrate the example, right? So 6,500 people, they're gonna lose big. 2,000 are gonna be break even, and then 10% gonna get lucky, and then of that 0.5 hit it big. Okay, but that's what I'm just trying to say with zero. And this actually a better example is actually going to be this. I don't like this example. I just did it for illustration purposes, but this is going to be a better example. Okay. So what you're looking at here is you're looking at a trading strategy. Okay. This strategy is negative expected value. What that means, if you don't know what expected value is, it just means that on any instance run of a probability in a probability space of a system. Okay. What is the amount that you gain or lose regardless of the trade, or regardless of if it's like a winner or a loser, or regardless of independent of the outcome, right? A positive expected value means that when you take a trade, like we're gonna use trading in this example. Let's say you take a trade, even if you lose that trade, if it's a positive expected value, what that says is that on every instance, every sample of every single trade, it's going to be either a positive or a negative expected value. So, are we gaining money or are we losing money, or is it like just a positive, so I'm so sorry if I'm just stuttering so much. I'm just so excited to bring this content to you guys and just explain these phenomenon. If it's just positive or negative, and if it's a net, oh my God, I can't even speak, bro. A net positive. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Okay, or a negative. So in this case, you can see that these strategies are negative, right? They're negative EV. They're showing you guys that in the long term, like you can't see it on the right here, but these strategies are going to lose money in the long term. They're not going to make any money in the long term. Okay, but what happens here? You're noticing, damn, like even though these strategies are losing, I told you guys these are losing strategies in the long term. No matter what, you're going to lose money in the long term. They still produce paths of positive P&L, right? So you can see this path right here. it's a positive path. This path right here is a positive path. So what does this mean, right? The Monte Carlo simulations are simulating randomness and variance into trading systems and into trading paths. So you can be completely unprofitable with a strategy even, that makes zero money. And this is just from a strategy angle, okay? And you can still make money. What does this mean? This means even if, I can't actually show this to you because it's cut off, but it would have been such a good example. But, basically you would be seeing, if this was a 50-50, like a complete 50-50 Monte Carlo simulation, you'd be seeing paths that do this on one side and then also paths on the opposite side like this. So it would look like that, and this would be the zero baseline. So then what does this mean? This means that even in a random, completely random, 50-50 environment, right, you are going to naturally have winners, and that's who we're going to favor, okay? It's just statistics. So even though this is not going to make you money in the long term, and this is actually, unironically, this is a Powell top and bottom taking methodology, a strategy, okay? You can still make money. And that's exactly what's going on here. These people have no idea what they're talking about, but they're still making money because of this concept of just randomness, luck, and variance. Okay? Now, let's move on to something called Bayes' theorem. This is genuinely, oh my God, this is going to be so eye-opening for you guys. I'm so excited. Okay. So if you guys haven't taken a stats class or haven't learned about Bayes' theorem, right? All Bayes' theorem states is that it's a mathematical formula used to calculate the probability of an event happening based on certain conditions, prior conditions that might be related to it. Okay, so we can essentially we figure out the probability of something happening based on if we know the probabilities of the conditions of that event. Okay, so what this means is we can apply this to trading. Okay, so this is what people are doing. All right, and I made these illustrations are just goated, bro. It took me so long to make these, bro, but I got y'all because I love y'all. Okay, so here's the whole idea on this. Okay, this is why payouts don't prove skill. And this is just using a Bayes' theorem and just a Bayesian perspective on this, right? Because you should be asking the right questions. What 99% of people are doing is that they're thinking, oh, this person has a payout, so they have to be a good day trader. They have to know what they're talking about. They have to be skilled. So then therefore, I'm going to buy their course. I'm going to buy their products because they have to be skilled. That is the absolute wrong question. Okay, what you should be asking is that given that I see someone who has a payout, what is the probability that they're actually skilled, that they actually know what they're talking about? And when I go through the math on this, you will literally you will cry because it is so sad. Now, before we get back to this slide, I want to show you guys the more in detailed slide on this, in detailed explanation on this. But this is how it works. Okay. So the whole theorem is essentially this, right? Given that someone gets a payout, what is the probability that they're actually skilled? And essentially, you're essentially, and I'm not going to go into the theorem, right? He derived this, he made this. It's been here since like the 1800s, the 1700s, whatever, right? But this is essentially it's a conditional probability formula of where you're multiplying the conditions of associated with the probabilistic conditions associated with certain states, and then you're able to then form a conclusion based off that. So essentially, the probability, we have to ask ourselves, though, what are the condition states? What are the statistics, the probabilities for these condition states? Okay, so we have to ask ourselves, what is the probability that how of certain traders being skilled? Like how many traders are skilled? Okay, so the probability that they're are skilled traders. So let's just assume, and this is conservative, right? Let's just assume that 5% of traders are actually skilled. So this is our p-skilled probability, right? So this is saying is that the probability that there are skilled traders is 5%. Okay, now we have to ask ourselves, what is the probability that we have skilled traders who get payouts? Okay, so what's the probability that given that they're a skilled trader that they get payouts? Okay, and that is 70% of the time. So let's just assume skilled traders get payouts 70% of the time. Okay, and then what is the probability now that an unskilled trader can get lucky and still get a payout? Okay, that is 10%, let's say. And again, these are very conservative. So once you put all these values in, you apply Bayes' theorem, right? Remember, if we go a little bit deeper, you can kind of see that it's the probability that, again, the probability that given that you see a payout, that the probability that they're actually skilled is going to be equal to the probability of them of the amount of people that, or of the probability that skilled traders get a payout times the probability that of how many traders that are actually skilled, and then time divided by all of this, which is going to be just the opposite of that. But then unskilled, obviously, like you're like, oh, what's the probability that someone's unskilled? It's just going to be 1 minus the probability that they're skilled, right? So this is going to be 0.95. So if we put this all in, you can see that this is going to be essentially 0.035 over 0.035 plus 0.095 divided by plus 0.035 plus 0.095, which is going to be this, which is 27%. Okay, so if we just look at it like a kind of like a breakdown, like a tree breakdown, right? If we have like 1,000 challenge attempts, 1,000 traders, right? 1,000 challenge attempts to get payouts or whatever on on their accounts. Okay, like let's just, these are not challenge attempts but XFA accounts, like express accounts. Okay, 50 skilled traders, 5% of these people, 5% are actually going to be skilled, and then 35% of that, or not 35%, 35 payouts are going to be through skilled people, right? And then you're going to have 950 unskilled people, and then of those unskilled people, right, you see 95 payouts. So out of all these, accounts and people who get payouts, you have basically a total of 130 payouts, and then of those payouts, right, 35 of those payouts were attributed to skilled traders, and then 95 of those payouts were attributed to people just who got lucky and who were just unskilled and just got it through, what I've been saying this whole time, through variance and whatnot, right? This whole video, wow, look at that beautiful board. through variance and everything, right, that I've been showing. So basically, this is saying is 27%. So essentially, given that you see a payout, the probability that someone is actually skilled is 27%. Like, let that sink into you. So what does this mean? This means that there's a 73% chance that when you see someone who posts a payout, that they are not skilled. They have no idea what the fuck they're talking about, which is just crazy, right? And it's a very, I use Bayes' theorem like almost every fucking day, like when I'm just bored on shit and just whatnot. Like, it is just such an insightful theorem that I urge you guys to read up into and see the literature on. And actually, I want to show you guys something real quick. I urge you guys to go and get this book. It is called Bayesian Statistics: The Fun Way. So you guys can see right here. Such a great book, guys. You can get it on Amazon like 20, like let's see here. It's like, yeah, $35, 20 to 30, I don't know, in that range, $20 to $35. But I guarantee you, you're gonna have such a strong understanding of stats and math and trading if you go and read this. And it's a really fun book. It's like not super math technically based. It is or technical, like heavily technically based, like with heavy math and heavy examples and stuff like that. It is like practical examples in an intuitive way that makes sense to you guys. So like we just said, when you see a payout, there's a 73% chance that they're not skilled, which is just crazy to me. All right, which then leads to us this question, which is, how do we prove skill? Okay, so how can you prove skill in day trading, right? How can you prove someone knows what they're actually talking about? And the unfortunate reality is that you can't, right? You can't to some extent, but there are certain patterns, right? And again, I'm not trying to glaze myself. I would say I am a pretty skilled day trader. It took me a very long time to learn the skill set and become knowledgeable and become profitable. But let's just take one more, just going into this diagram that I was trying to say, right? So let's just say like these guys are saying, oh, use my trading strategy or whatever. I'm using this trading strategy that made me this amount of money, right? Like that Alex O guy, he was like, oh, like fucking, let's go all the way here. He's like what? He said, yeah, learn my strategy for free, whatever. Obviously, it's like some bullshit, right? So if we go all the way down here, right, it's essentially a sample size problem. So how many trades does it does it essentially need to take to prove if you're skill, if you have actual skill or luck? And this is essentially in relation to a trading strategy. Okay, so what most gurus have is they have one challenge passed, 20 to 50 trades. They have one funded payout, the total sample size is basically 100 trades, right? And this is just not enough because you don't have enough samples to distinguish if this is just luck or actual skill. What's going to actually prove what's real skill is if you have a trading system or someone who proves they have a trading system with over 500 plus samples, consistency over 1 to 2 years, right? Showing that they have multiple six figures in payouts, they're managing multiple accounts, they're transparent about the attempts, and then their edge holds across market conditions. Now I will say, this is a very, 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 very nuanced and hard thing to do, even with a profitable system, because market regimes change, right? Certain strategies are more work better in certain market regimes and certain market conditions, while they fail in other regimes, right? So what I'm trying to say though is that in general though, a very good strategy is going to be able to survive these regimes, and to the best of their ability, and you're able to like mitigate your risk and whatnot. Okay. But this is essentially where luck gets filtered out and real edge becomes actual visible, right? So basically you need to ask yourself, how many total trades is this person's track record based on? Is their system based on? How many samples do they have of their data, of their models, of their playbook? Or do they not even trade like that? Like, guys, if this person that you're talking about doesn't even talk about this stuff, like zero inkling of math and statistics and about any of this, right? And they're just saying, oh, I trade discretionarily. Like, oh, like look at my back testing strategy, 80%, 70% win rate. I just trade fully discretionary. Like, bro, like that is a huge red flag because like you don't know if it's just random. Like you can't quantify that in a sense. You know what I mean? So if they can't answer that, like you're just looking at a random noise, not actually like real trading signals and real positive expectancy in your trading, right? Now, if we just go and look at this chart and how sample size actually matters in a trading system, in a trading methodology, right? If you have 20 trades, right, in one challenge, it's basically random, right? 50 trades, still very noisy, right? And 100 trades, still very noisy. As the number of trades increase, as it keeps increasing to the downside, right? The skill is very clear. So that's what I'm trying to say, right? If you have under 500 trades, this person has under 500 trades, you can ask a slick question. You could be like, oh, like, how many trades? Like, oh my god, bro, you're so cool. Like, how many trades did you take? And if they say, oh yeah, my strategy, it looks good over like 50 trades, and they're trying to be so confident, like, they're full of horseshit, and that's like a inkling and an indication that they have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. Okay, but yeah, you're essentially looking at noise if you have under 500 trades. And I've said this so many times, not actual predictive power, not signal, right? And the thing is most of these influencers, these micro-influencers, they're trading discretionarily. They have no track records of, more than 50 trades, 50 to 100 trades, and that is just not enough data to prove anything, okay? So let's just keep continuing, right? How do we keep proving the skill? Like, if you're a beginner, you want to learn from somebody, right? You can learn from your boy AA Bands, you know what I'm saying? Yours truly. But, ask yourself these questions, right? Do they have a college degree, right? So you guys know I was in Applied Medical School. I finished my 4-year college degree. This whole video should kind of tell you guys, but I take pride and put an emphasis on education, on actual, math, statistics, and, doing stuff the right way based off real logic, right? So, I got my degree in, with my BS in biology and minor in chemistry. So I was gonna, like I said, Applied Medical School, and, I was in the sciences, right? But regardless, I still had to take very heavy math classes, Calc 1, Calc 2, Calc 3, Calc 3, linear algebra, differential equations, thermodynamics, kinematics, right? Bioinformatics, like very, very advanced, classes, STEM classes. But you have to also ask yourself, like, is this person tackling trading from an actual intellectual angle? Like, are they just saying, oh, like, I just take a trade based off this? Like, what I'm saying? Like, is it just brain rot content? Is it just dumb content? Or is it actual, like, content, intelligent content to help you? Like, and I'm not saying you can't, like, incorporate dumb content or funny content here and there, but, like, your whole core and, like, should be based off that. Like, my whole thing is, like, obviously, you guys have probably known in my content creation journey, like, I've been struggling to, grow because it's just, like, people don't realize this, right? The majority, the masses, the average people, they just want to, have content that just caters to their 7 deadly sins. They're just, their greed, their brain rot, just their funniness, whatever, So it's like, I've been trying to incorporate some brain rot and some meme stuff into my trading, not into my content, but, like, it's hard, you feel me? But I digress, right? So, and finally, do they have an actual trading system, like a methodology of positive EV, of positive expectancy, right? Of where they can actually, show you, right? Like, hey, man, like, if in general, even if I fuck up, like, if I apply this methodology, like, I can make good money over X amount of time. Like, do they have an actual methodology of doing that, right? Are they just not letting their trading just be up to chance and just discretionary trading, right? So that's my biggest thing. Now, it gets a little bit more complex, obviously, with prop firm dynamics and whatnots, but these are the things you should be looking for, right? Also the reviews, right? If, this person, has a mentorship, right? Has other, has a product, has a course, do they have high reviews? Do they have good reviews? You can see right here, I've had my Discord, my free Discord open for a while now, but, all my mentorship students, all my people in my Discord, there's a reason why they're leaving good reviews, guys, because I have good quality information. I know what I'm talking about. Right? So if you guys want to go ahead, join the free Discord. It's going to be linked in the profile, linked in the bio. And yeah, man, just come and chop it up with me. I'd love to talk with you guys and answer your guys' questions. But, these are the things you should be looking at, right? Like, obviously reviews can be, fabricated and whatnot, but, like, you can kind of see, like, is it a real review or not a real review, right? Like, these are all real people. You can talk to them in my Discord. Even my mentorship students are all in there, right? But, do they have high reviews for their stuff, right? So, that's why it's, it's so critical to be able to do this, because, guys, at the end of the day, like, why is this so important? Like, why is this important to me, and how does this help me? Like, guys, the whole point, right? Why are you getting into trading? You're getting into trading so you can make money and achieve your dreams, bro. Maybe you retire your family, maybe, buy shit, maybe not work a normal 9-to-5 job. So you need to be able to tackle this and understand how to navigate this from that level, because it is not a joke, guys. We're here to do this professionally, like a real skill set, right? Like I said, like there are institutions, there are people who are quite literally hiring PhDs, right? Quants, these banks, these hedge funds, right? Like, so what makes you think that you can just tackle this with no ounce of intelligence and, not doing shit the right way? You feel me? But more so, like, you have to understand this is your life. If you don't consume the right information, guys, you are quite literally going to be ruining your own life. Okay? So, you want to be profitable. So why are you consuming this dumb content and this brain rot content that doesn't help you? Okay, focusing and just being on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok, just watching dumb stuff. So you gotta really sit down with yourself, man. After this video, be like, damn, bro, I need to really figure out who's legit and really apply myself to learning trading the right way. And you guys know, like, 2026, I'm going to be dropping the best fucking content. I'm going to try my best to just put the work in, and, I have a passion about this, right? So, I'm going to be bringing the best quality information to you guys. But, it's tough, guys, right? But this whole video, like I said, is just please critically think. All right, please critically think and, really do your due diligence on people. Like, if they're a little kid, if they're just promoting dumbs content, clickbaity content, engagement-based content, and you're you're an intellectual person and you're getting into trading and you want to learn futures trading and getting into prop firms, I can guarantee you guys that these people have no idea what they're talking about, and I've proven it to you mathematically. All right, so listen, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. It really means a lot to me. Any questions, anything else you might have, please drop them down below. I'm going to go and get some sleep, actually, because I've been up all fucking night. Gold actually just hit $5,000 an ounce, which is fucking crazy. It is cracked. I have no idea what's going on, man. It's just insane. But yeah, stay tuned, guys, and I love y'all. I really do, man. And please, at least, hey, man, if you listen, if you don't join the free Discord, at least go follow me on IG, because you're gonna be seeing my content and my advice and my tips on there. So I love you guys, and stay tuned, and yeah, take care.